This is UK Talk Radio, with the music you love and the chat you enjoy.
Welcome to UK Talk Radio. Great to have your company as always. It's Jonathan Hines here, and here on UK Talk, we've got the music you love and the chat you enjoy. We're talking relationships today, not just romantic relationships, but all types of relationships, and also a bit about NLP. And we're talking to somebody, that's Sophie Personne from Southampton in Hampshire, who's originally from France, but's been in this country for 16 years now. And Sophie is an NLP practitioner and a renowned expert on all things to do with relationships. Welcome to UK Talk Radio, Sophie.
Hi.
Great to have your company.
Thank you.
So what sort of day have you had? Tell me what your day has been about today.
Today, right. Well, I had a few meetings and I've had to write an article, actually, which is difficult sometimes. You've got to get in flow. And I struggled for a little while, so I went around someone's house I knew because it was different, a different area. So sometimes creative juices flow a bit better if you're somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And you come to see us here at the studios in Bournemouth Pool today. And you definitely are a relationships expert. You know a lot about relationships, and you help people to understand themselves better and therefore to improve their relationships maybe as a result of that. Am I right? Yeah,
that's right. I think one of the main things that people underestimate is that you've got to have a healthy relationship with yourself before you can have one with anybody else. Another thing as well is, there's always times in your life where certain things that have happened in the past come and creep up, and you need to deal with it in order to carry on.
Yes. Now, just before we go any further, your website is Sophie Personne. That's person, but double N-E on the end.
That's right.
Personne. Sophie, Sophie, S-O-P-H-I-E, Personne.com. Now, in a nutshell, Sophie, how did you fall into this? How did this start? Did you always know you'd be doing something similar to this, or did you fall into it?
Not at all. It's come as a surprise, actually. My background is managerial, and the bit that I enjoyed the most was helping people grow and get better. I didn't realise at the time what exactly that was, and when I left I retrained, but as an NVQ assessor, and that didn't quite work for me because it's too much ticking the box, and you don't let the person grow at their own pace either. So I then decided to set up a company that did events for single people, but again found that wasn't quite what I wanted, as I could see why they were singles, and their sense of expectations was warped, to be honest. Until they sorted themselves out and their own relationship with themselves, they were never going to meet the right person. And a lot of them would say they attracted certain types and there were patterns, but that was mainly because they hadn't dealt with the emotional behaviour from the past breakups. Obviously I can tell someone that, but if they don't want to change, it's not going to happen. So as a result, I was seeing all this, and I was training at the time in neuro-linguistic programming, and that's why I decided to change. I started with just single people, but it just so happened that it's evolved in its relationships in general, so yeah.
Yes, and in a nutshell, NLP is what, Sophie, just to remind
neuro-linguistic programming. It's basically various techniques and tools that allow me to ask questions in a certain way and to get to the bottom of things, as opposed to what the person thinks the problem is. If I give you an example, someone came to see me with a work issue, and actually turned out the genuine underlying reason behind her unhappiness was her marriage. So through questioning techniques, that's obviously how we got to that, and then we're now doing some work on self-doubt and how she can communicate better with her husband, and so far so good.
Is most of your work one-to-one, Sophie?
I do one-to-one, yes, at the moment. I am working to create some workshops and some retreats, but I want it to be a bit special, so it'd have to be a quirky venue, so I'm just working quietly in the background on that at the moment.
Yes. Now, Sophie, is it fair to say that in the last 10 years the internet has revolutionised your job?
Oh, totally, because, I've got customers in France, in the States, in the north of England, and I do most of it on Skype. I couldn't have done that as you say, 10 years ago, or probably could have, but it wasn't as developed as it is now.
No, and before the internet, it would have been mainly face-to-face.
Yeah, it would have just been face-to-face.
Yeah.
Which does restrict your reach, as it were.
So when you say about people's we know that romantic relationships, for example, are a minefield. There can be great happiness, but there can be extreme pain as well, can't there? What is, when you say people's expectations are warped, often, what do you mean by that, Sophie?
People don't look at what went wrong. They are quick enough. Let's say, someone leaves someone, it's all their fault. They don't try and see where the root cause beyond the split, or even if they leave that person and say, oh, they've changed, they're not the person I thought they were. They don't assess what actually went wrong, and a lot of the time you need to really spend a little bit of time to work it out, because otherwise you reproduce the same mistakes time and time again. And it's when you don't deal with emotional baggage that you create a pattern.
So people are focusing on the pain and how they've been offended and hurt.
Yes,
but they're not looking at the other person's point of view as much.
The one part that they did play in the process of splitting up, because let's not forget, you've got one person's version of the truth, the other person's version of the truth, and the middle is the truth. We all see the world on map, and we don't always see it through someone else's eyes, so it's getting to the bottom of that.
So you often see, it sounds like a cliche, but how love can turn to hate, or love can turn to love-hate.
Yeah, it's a very close feeling anyway. It's a very linked, you can hate someone for 5 minutes as much as you love them, just because it's a passion, and it's a very close feeling, really.
Yeah, or just because you happen to be in a good mood, or you happen to be getting on at that time, but then maybe an hour later or a day later you're not getting on at all. I
don't know, if that love-hate is a bit too common in your relationship, I would start to say that there's potential issues that need to be addressed.
Now, it's not just dating and romantic relationships, although that is something that you do help a lot of people with. You have events, you have workshops, you help people to date better, so when they go on a date, to handle it better in a more relaxed way.
Yes, I think there's also an element of the choosing of the person they're going to see, because a lot of the time people are either too choosy or not choosy enough, and that's again going back to the sense of expectations. You need to find someone that you have things in common with, and sometimes instead of looking at it as this is going to be my partner for the rest of my life, you need to look at it as this is a person I'm meeting who I'm getting on with, and stop over analysing it, just thinking too much. And also, sometimes if you make friends out of dates, if you have things in common, they've got friends, and it's being that little bit more open to just opportunities and just meeting normal people, as opposed to I must be with someone. That comes naturally.
People are too quick to say they love somebody, aren't they? Or too quick to say, oh, I found the person. And what actually has happened, I don't want to be cynical, because I'm always a cup half full person rather than cup half empty, but what's happening is people are trying to convince themselves that this is the one, that they found the right person, because they want to be able to tick that box, that's sorted now. So you can dress it up, can't you, and convince yourself that it's more than it is.
A lot of people don't want to be on their own, so they will settle for someone that's not suited to them at all. And a lot of the time, they know deep down, their gut instinct knows that it's not right, but they will keep going for exactly that reason, because they don't want to be on their own. And sometimes you have to actually be on your own to be able to recognise the traits of someone that it's going to work with. It's a little bit, when you have bad things happen in your life, you have to have bad things happen in your life, because otherwise how would you know when something good comes along? You've got to take, the good with the bad on all aspects.
Yes, and with relationships generally, this is another reason, isn't it, why people get married quicker than they should. People rush into marriages.
I think, there's rushing and rushing. I know some
before
couples who have got married very quickly, but they knew straight away how they just got on. And when you meet someone that's very different for you, when you I think we know. People say, "Oh, we know," but it's true. It flows better. It's when you start to have to push at it, or it becomes what I would like to call a Facebook relationship, where it's plastered with pictures all over the person's wall and all the rest of it, and that's when you've got to start thinking, is it really, and questioning it. I think the answer is always in the gut.
Yeah.
I know I keep on going back to that, but it's true.
And smiley faces.
And smiley faces.
Lots of people smiling.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with smiling, but do we automatically have to do that in a photo? Smiling's a good thing, but Facebook is full of smiley faces, isn't it?
Oh no, but why would you want to see? If someone's having a good time, you're not going to get grumpy, are they?
No.
So straight away, there would be a smile. So it's if you see someone you like, you will smile at them naturally. You don't even think about it.
So you are not only do you go and see people for consultations? Do you visit them as well, or do you work from a practice?
I have done, but as I say, I prefer to do it on Skype because sometimes it can also allow a person to be more comfortable to be in their own home and to not. It's quite a personal service, for want of better words, and people have to open up about certain things, and you want them to be as relaxed and comfortable as possible. And sometimes it's difficult to talk to someone in the same room where you don't really know them, where when you've got that distance of a screen, actually you get a sense of trust, and you don't feel that you're allowing them in so much that it becomes too much. So it works very well because it gets the trust going.
Yes, so when people first come to see you, they may not be quite clear on what they're looking for or what they're wanting.
A lot of the time people come with a problem, and actually within a couple of hours we've worked out the problem is something completely different.
Right.
We are very good at hiding from ourselves what the real issues are.
So what is the initial procedure when somebody does contact you? What do you do first? Do you first have to decide whether you're right for them, whether you can work with them?
That's how I do that. I just offer a free consultation, which is normally about 20-30 minutes, ask a few questions, A, to establish what the problem is, and B, yes, just to see if I can work with them, and also whether they can work with me, because it's all well and good sometimes people referring you, but it's how you feel. It's a personal thing, isn't it? Yeah. We don't all get on with everybody.
And sometimes when you're talking to a client, maybe they remind you of yourself maybe years ago before, because we're always developing, aren't we? And we can all look back and see how little we knew and how stupid and clumsy we were maybe 10-15 years ago compared with now.
Oh, we do in general, I think, because
you can see yourself sometimes in a person.
Yeah, I have a lot of life experience, but I've also, because of said managerial background and helping people back then, I also have a lot of life experience through other people's, and I've heard a lot and I've seen a lot, trust me.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, funny enough, there is a particular customer I have at the moment is very much me a year ago, which is quite interesting because I know exactly where he is, but I can't tell him. I've got to lead him to find the answer himself.
That's right, yeah. So it's like with a lot of counselling, isn't it? You're not giving advice, you're giving observations and comments
or suggest,
on the person's behaviour and situation.
I speak, and in the way I employ certain things, I get them to find the answer.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. What's the longest that you've had one person seeing you on a weekly basis or monthly basis? What's the longest?
I had a guy who had an awful lot of issues, and I saw him for about 6 months, but he was by far the longest, and that's quite rare. Normally he's fairly quick. You're talking 9 to 12 sessions.
Right.
So it is quite quick.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Now, you came over here 16 years ago. Do you find much difference between the culture here, or people's behaviour and mentality here and in France? Do you find, do you still notice a lot of differences, or are you so settled here now that you've almost forgotten to make the comparison?
I still see a lot of different. I mean, obviously it's very different nowadays than it was 16 years ago, and I think sometimes I kind of forget that it's also changed in France because I don't see it. But for instance, it's more others that make me realise. One of my cousins came back with me from Christmas and stayed for a few days, and it was more his observations that made me realise how different it still is. For instance, one of the things he mentioned is how he hates Sundays because he's single, and he gets bored on a Sunday because most people just go to their families, and if his parents are busy or whatever, or if he doesn't fancy doing that, he says there's nowhere to go. Restaurants aren't open, or where he is anyway, and yeah, he just finds it a bit boring. Where I don't know, I'm used to a 24-hour lifestyle now, and it's something that I enjoy, and I would struggle to go to a shop and it's closed because it's lunchtime.
Yeah, we're used to hearing, aren't we, that the French and the Spanish and the Italians are a bit more open with their emotions and they let things out more.
I'm not so sure of this now.
No, it's obviously a generalisation because things have changed. We're more of a global village now, but that is something you hear a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they actually they might be more passionate about certain causes, but I think that in terms of their own emotions, it's actually very kept quiet or in the family or under wraps.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like showing their emotions for a cause or for a special demonstration or a political party or whatever it is, yes, they are probably a lot more open.
And you do events and workshops as well, don't you?
Well, the workshops have not actually started yet. I'm working on it.
Yes, and just remind us of your website again. Some people might want to look you up right now, Sophie.
Yeah, it's www.sophiepersonne.com.
And that's one word, is it?
That's one word, yeah.
Right. And so what's on the agenda now? Spring has sprung. There's lots of optimism in the air, isn't there? And what's on the agenda for the next month for you then?
For the next month, I haven't got time to stop the next month. I'm going to France twice for 2 family celebrations. So that would be quite tiring, and it's just all work at the minute, unfortunately.
That's right.
Unfortunately, as the case may be.
Yeah, and that's in the northeast of France.
I'm going to the north in the Picardy region on Friday, and I'm then going to Normandy a couple of weeks later.
Which is across, of course. Yeah.
I'm going for Portsmouth. So.
You're going from Portsmouth, and you're based in Southampton, but you deal with people from all over the place.
Yeah.
So to anybody a lot of people are very, very pessimistic, aren't they, about dating and relationships? To anybody who's just given up and they're really depressed about dating and have given up on finding that person, I know this is a huge subject, but before we sign off on this interview, what would be your first bit of advice? What would the first thing you would say to somebody who's given up and who's really, really pessimistic about dating?
Well, I think that if they have given up and they are that pessimistic, they need to again look back at themselves. Why are they pessimistic? Why are they depressed? If they're not happy single, they will not be happy with someone else. Your happiness lays with you. You cannot put that on someone else. Someone else will enhance your life and will make it better, different, but if you're not happy single, you won't be happy taken.
No, that's right. I mean, obviously meeting a person can make you complete on some levels, and it can enhance your life hugely, but it's never going to...
But you just said the key word, complete. It's just something that adds something to your life, not that is your life, because that puts a certain amount of pressure on both of you, and it just doesn't work when people do that, unfortunately.
No. Thanks, Sophie. This is fascinating. We could go on for another 20 minutes, couldn't we?
Indeed.
Thanks very much for joining us on UK Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Sophie Personne from Southampton, who certainly knows her stuff. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon, Sophie. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is UK Talk Radio with the music you love and the chat you enjoy.